Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. I am your host, Aaron Seibert, retired Navy chief. Lucky to be alive after being hit with a mortar around April 2006. Hey, this is a platform for our veterans, our combat veterans, our sponsor supporters, volunteers, those that want to get on here and tell their story. My co-host, JB Brown, world-renowned chef. He's always here to make things brighter and talk about the latest and greatest. This is sponsored by the VTRC, the Veterans Transition Resource Center. And I do a lot with the Warrior Building Foundation, the PTSD Foundation, Recon Chief Incorporated, so many other organizations that are doing incredible things. This is a resource platform, and it's brought to you for so many different reasons. SitchRadio.com on the background, Brian Colburn making it happen. And my guest today is Dr. J. Royster. She is a United States Air Force veteran, and she became a doctor, and she is making things happen. Her business, Semper Motis LLC, and she does some incredible stuff for our veterans with the mental health things that are so important out there with so many things going on and so many lives being lost, so many suicides, so many, with PTSD being so rampant, physiological, biological, it taps into so many different things, and she's on to talk about a lot of things. She's going to tell her story, which is going to be an incredible thing. She's not going to pull any punches. So disclaimer wise, if you are somewhat on the edge and you are triggered, this might not be the show for you to watch today, but save it for a different time when you're a little bit more advanced in your PTSD. But if you're on the edge and you need some help and support, follow up with me later on, and we'll see what we can do to get you into a warrior group or something like that through the PTSD Foundation of America or some other avenue of support. And there's tons of it all over this platform. So Dr. J. Royster, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Great.
Good. Hey, I want to share recipes for Chef over there. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Chef JB, thanks for being here. Thanks for making this happen.
Thank you. And welcome, Dr. Royster. I'm hoping you have as great as weather as we do here in Las Vegas.
It's already 76. It's beautiful. 85.
Yeah, there you go.
No snowstorm hits me. I'm enjoying it immensely. So a little bit about me. I was not always Dr. J. Royster. Interesting story. I was a drag racer for a little while. My mother and my step-parents in Michigan, I did some obstacle course, some off-road stuff. I was telling Chief about a situation where I had a 76 Chevy pickup with a step side, and I had bucket seats, and my stepdad had a pie plate, and I had to drive in reverse blindfolded. And he told me your way, which meant left, and then my way, which was right. And I had to go through this obstacle course backwards. And he had the least amount of water in his lap. So I guess we won. It was pretty exciting. But I was a pretty good racer. I had a 0.004 reaction time. I was in the world record for about 2 seconds, and then my mother beat it. Neither here nor there. I was going to go get a contract with John Force and do some serious racing. And my parents got divorced. I lost my ride, quite literally. And then I decided to go in the Air Force, of all things, because a buddy of mine who I used to drag race with went. So I followed him literally to MEPS. I served about 1.5 years. I was assaulted while I was in service, and I got myself out of it because I couldn't. The trauma from the event it happened in the OR, which is the operating room, which I used to work in. So it was really hard for me to go back to that environment. And anyway, I failed a test. I booked it. They told me I could be military police. And I'm like, deuces, right? Because I didn't know anything back then. I wish I would have changed my mind because I'd have been a pretty kick-ass police officer, if I do say so myself, because I work with them now. So long story short, went overseas. I did the back half of somebody else's deployment. What's interesting is training and teaching police officers as I do now, I found a lieutenant who was a Navy CB who actually put up the medical building that I was deployed to. So that's a pretty crazy story, right? What a small world. It's interesting to hear about people who have done things to make your life easier and you don't even know they exist. we walk into a building and we really have no idea what goes into this. We have no idea that they're booting around before we even get there, right? So that was pretty powerful. After that sexual assault had occurred with the master sergeant, he has since passed on. Long story, but neither here nor there. I'm not going to get into those details. Nobody wants to hear about that, right? So I got out. I went back to my roots. I worked at Pep Boys as a cashier. And I sold an alternator to somebody because nobody was at the sales desk. And I got promoted to assistant manager like that day because I knew what an alternator was. So I moved up the ranks. I became a manager of a store and then division manager and all of that. And then during that time, I got married and to a Marine who had some mental health issues. And he decided one day I went into the store. I was covering for another store manager. I went in, the phone rang. It was him. He repeatedly called the store, and during the time that I was on the phone, he shot himself. And I obviously, the phone went up to the floor. I called the police. The police did a wellness check, and he had hit himself about 3 inches below his heart. He had hit his lung. I got somebody to cover the store. I went home, and he was airlifted. He did survive, but our marriage did not. And after that, going back to the store, and this is a cycle, the cycle of trauma. It's like going back into the battlefield, right? It's very difficult to adhere to those circumstances, those situations. The phone ringing, I would be hiding under a desk because all I heard was the phone ring and a bullet, right? I heard the sound of the gun. So for me, it was very, very complicated. I had to go into a different field. I went in to a psych ward of all places to work. And during that time, I became a mental health technician. So I worked third shift because I couldn't sleep anyway. So it just made sense that that's what I would do. And the timeline gets a little muddy because I don't necessarily, we're talking 20 some years ago. I don't really want to date myself, but Friday I turned 51. So that was a long time ago for me. Yes, it's all hair dye. Just saying. And filters because they're beautiful. So I was getting my associates and then my master's, and I was going into industrial organizational psychology, which is more like executive leadership stuff, more like corporation type thing, because I was in business for so long. I kind of wanted to transition. I wanted to use those skills because a lot of the colleges that you do online, what they do is they incorporate a lot of your world experience. So if your audience doesn't know that, it's highly beneficial. A lot of that gets fostered into college credits. So I incorporated a lot of my, work ethic experience because I had thousands of hours of job, right? All kinds of different things. I did fashion, retail. I mean, you name it. I worked at McDonald's. Like I've had all kinds of jobs. I've had all kinds of cars, all kinds of jobs. I like engines, right? Because they're fun and, I usually wear them out, but that's beside the point. We can talk about that later. I had a Ford Mustang and I decided to transition to a Ford Escape, trying to make it sound more fascinating than it is because, you go from a Mustang to an Escape. It's kind of sad, right? But I get to load stuff now. I can put the seats down and put things in it. And with my little convertible Mustang, I couldn't really carry anything. So I worked in mental health. I worked in a short-term psychiatric facility, worked with adolescents and adults and kind of hearing their stories and we call it a revolving door just because people get on their meds and then they can't get their meds for whatever reason. And then they're back in because of their personality disorders, because of their schizophrenia, because their mental health illnesses cause them to be so handicapped that then they react overtly to the point where the police pick them up, take them to the ER, take them to the psych ward. They get back on their medication and they're okay, but they're only okay for about 30 to 60 to 90 days, depending on how many meds they have, right? So in that transition, the crisis people, once he shot himself, had given me a mental health clinician. Okay, so veterans do not go to interns for their mental health appointments. Like, that is a big no-no. What had happened was she was moving toward me in our first session, and I believe she was trying to do EMDR, which is one therapeutic intervention. And it's very effective for certain people. And she kept touching my knees, and I asked her not to. And I'm pretty like, you need to ask me permission to hug me because I don't know what you're doing. You know, like, are you going to harm me or hug me? Right. And that's most veterans are like that. You do need, when you approach someone, you definitely need to communicate what you're going to do, especially anybody with post-traumatic stress symptoms. And she kept touching me, and I asked her, I said, don't touch me. And she kept touching my knees and getting closer to me. And I didn't know what she was doing. So I just hauled off and nailed her. And I hit her in the throat, knocked her upside down in the chair. And she, screamed. I assaulted her because I did, I admit it. Luckily, it was a misdemeanor. And luckily, the sergeant who had come in to, he showed up at the call, and he's like, what's going on? Because I'm sitting out in the waiting room crying my eyes out because I think I'm going to go to jail and be forced to be a lesbian. Like, I didn't know what was happening, right? So he told me, he said, I'm a resident in a mental health program. And he was also happened to be a sergeant on the police department. So he knew that her touching me was violating my boundaries, that she was in the wrong. And he went in, he spoke to her, he came back out, he spoke to me, and then he went and asked for a supervisor. And they told him, oh, she's with a client. He goes, I don't care. Like, she needs to come out. So she came out, and she had an attitude. And the officer basically said, I'll take her away. I'll take her to jail. And he kind of winked at me, which I figured out it was a misdemeanor after the fact. And he said, but I'm going to take both your licenses. And that was kind of a mic drop moment. So, because the deal is like, if the police know that you're violating a client's, boundaries, like, that's a very, very bad thing. And that is something that your license can be taken away for if enough people complain about it. So we as licensed clinicians have to be very mindful of your requests, because we work for you. At the end of the day, we work for the client. And I don't think a lot of people view it that way because of the hierarchy of the relationship. But when I ask you, like, what are your goals? I'm not going to go off and choose different goals. I'm going to do what you asked me to do, right? So long story short, the sergeant ended up filing a complaint. They both got their licenses taken away. So that was very eye-opening for me. And I realized I can do this better and not get throat punched. Like, that's a goal of mine, right? So I think everybody should live their life and avoid throat punch Thursdays. However, in my circumstance, I had my doctorate in industrial organizational psychology, and then I got a master's in mental health counseling, and then I got a doctorate in traumatology. So for me, it was like learning every different trauma intervention known to man that was worth a shit. Can I say shit? I'm sorry. Okay.
You can say it, Doc.
Okay.
Yep.
So, well, I do swear. So, like, I think the word fuck goes in every sentence ever. I think it's amazing. I think it's the greatest word ever. I mean, you can say it by itself. You can say it in the middle of a sentence. It could be a verb, an adjective, a noun. Like, it's an amazing word, right?
That it is.
So I do love that word. And I think that, doing this differently, finding everything, doing the research, finding out the best, most effective modalities. I went and taught, I think I did a speaking engagement in Texas. And I remember hearing about prolonged exposure, and I was kind of giggling the whole time. And I was trying to be respectful, but it's really hard when I know that the research of your evidence-based therapeutic intervention that you're discussing has a 23% success rate.
Yeah.
So, and normally the reason it's only 23% for the most part is because it requires 12 sessions. cognitive processing therapy requires 12 sessions. They do all this evidence-based stuff, but the research has to be based on a certain amount of sessions. I don't agree with that. My first session is set up. It's like, okay, when do you want to quit this? Like 6 months, 8 months, a year, like a month? What do you got? What kind of time are we looking at here? Because I think your journey is up to you. I'm going to give you every tool I got. It's just like an engine, right? You cannot repair an engine without tools. And you got to have the right tools for the engine to run really, really well. Sorry, it's all about cars for me.
Hey, that's a good analogy all the time, Doc. That works really well with my listeners for the most part.
And it's same with the brain. Everybody wants to be aware of PTSD. And I think we need to lean into the intervention to PTSD. And it's not necessarily alleviating it, because once an event occurs, it is there. It's in your brain always. However, we can minimize triggers. We can get you will never be who you were before the event occurred. That's an unrealistic expectation. It just is. You will never be that person again. I wish I was naive and oblivious to the world around me. That would be cool. But my brain remembers. So
I
with PTSD,
fully agree to you.
With PTSD,
mind wipe is not an option.
Right.
Yeah.
So with PTSD, you have a traumatic event that is attached to an emotion. I don't really believe in positive or negative emotions, because my anger is really positive for me. Like, I can whip a tomahawk with the best of them. I really enjoy throwing those axes, right?
Yeah.
I love that. So for
It's
me,
great
that's
sport.
positive. But I feel that rage filling up in me, and I go, "Pah!" And I'm good, like bullseye. Not every time, obviously. I'm not, ridiculous. Like, I fail all the time, but I try again. And I think, that game, it's funny because the first time I ever went in there, he's telling us the rules, because you have to be safe, because you're in a cage and you get a very sharp object, right? So when you go to throw the tomahawk, they're like, okay, do it this way. It's all in the arm. And, he goes through the motions, and I whip it. And then I'm like standing there trying to get the tomahawk out of the plywood. And he's like, you need some help? And he walks up and he goes, oh my, you really got it in here, And I'm like, yeah. It's very therapeutic. I love alternative ways to find that outlet in a healthy manner. Like, you're going to have one of my buddies on here, Eric, who's a Marine, and he has mounted shooting. Like, that's what he does. He shoots off the back of a horse, which is an amazing. We need an outlet for that adrenaline. We need that outlet for a rage, because most of the time these traumas occurred when it was outside of our control. That's police, civilian, military. I don't care where you come from. A trauma is attached to an emotion of anger, sadness, fear, shame, guilt, or hurt. It just is. And then it gets all twisted up, and it goes from your prefrontal cortex, which is where all the information, you take in 2 million megabytes of data a day. And it goes through the highways of the brain, aka the neural pathways. And it sits in a little tiny organ that's shaped as a walnut. And that trauma just sits there. And when you have a lot of them over a long period of time, and we call that complex trauma, right? CPTSD, and there is a billing code for that. I know there's a lot of people who don't think so. By the way, post-traumatic stress disorder, complex or chronic, is F43.12. Just so when you go to the VA, you can educate them, because it is in there. It is a biblical code. It's fine. A lot of people dismiss it, but it very much is a thing. It is a diagnosis. So when you have that come into your amygdala, when you have so many, the walnut-shaped organ shrinks down to a raisin. And the more, which is weird, you would think if you're stuffing information into something, it would get larger. But in your brain, it just doesn't do that. It doesn't have the capacity, right? So it goes down the 10th cranial nerve of your neck into your vagus nerve. And that's why when some people are trying to talk about their traumatic events, they get choked up, they can't breathe. You heard me do it a little earlier when I was talking about the gunshot, right? So we get a little choked up here. some of that vagus nerve just wah, 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 throbs, and it goes into your digestive system. When I worked with human traffic survivors, that's where most of their trauma was held. They have IBS, they have fibromyalgia, they have a lot of different conditions that is based on that vagus nerve working overtime. And a lot of sexual trauma has to do with the belly, which I found very interesting. There's a lot of research on that. So human trafficking survivors, there's a lot of them that get stomach cancer. And the one psychologist that I used to work with doing human traffic work, she actually is doing research on that right now because she's finding so many people with those events that have the same diagnoses as they get older, which I found fascinating. But there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of ways to heal this. And Chief, you and I talked about this yesterday. There's so many different therapeutic and non-therapeutic ways and outlets. I mean, chef, obviously, why do you cook?
It's passion.
Yeah. Why is it a passion?
Because I love to eat.
But is it just the end result or is it the process?
No, it's the process and the end results. My mother didn't cook. I mean, she'd tell anybody, I don't cook. That's why my son's a chef. And God bless her soul, she's gone now. But yeah, I mean, and my passion is like big volume. I mean, I cook for 80,000, don't even break a sweat. I have 700 employees. I mean, you talk about, trauma. Yeah. There's some days you can get real trauma, but, it's like, it's what we do, I mean, you like it when you can work with somebody and really bring their toolbox out and really add to it. And they're going to go away and they're going to be better, know, and I think, myself, I like to teach and I like when people, it's like the eyes start to light up and they got it, you could see it in them, especially
that warm fuzzy feeling.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you go home, it's like you don't drive home. You're just floating on air because everything is so good. Yeah. And, that's a great feeling.
But that adrenaline is actually a therapeutic tool. And even I have scuba divers. I have a Army veteran, Navy guy, which I hope to come on your show. He's got a nonprofit and he does scuba stuff. And he's done some world renowned work underwater that nobody gets to hear about. Right. And he's very humble. He doesn't really want to share, I mean, he was part of Secret Service for like Reagan and Bush. Right. And he just doesn't talk about it. And he's a really good friend of mine. And I got my scuba certification. I almost drowned when I was 9 years old. So for me, getting scuba certified was very empowering. And being able to stand, I still, I get down 20, 25 feet. I'm freaking out a little bit. But then after 33 feet, after you get down one atmosphere, it's almost as if you can't tell how deep you are, which I found pretty amazing because it's always that fear of, I don't know if I can handle this and all of that. So I go with him when he takes new students out because if anybody pops up, I'm there to like calm them down and get them to finish their certification. Because what I noticed is trauma with diving is a thing. And I think that there are different interventions and solutions you can have to get them to take ownership of that, whatever fear that they have. And once they sit in 33 feet, crisscross applesauce, just sit there. You have enough air in your BCD, you can sit pretty much at any level of the water that you want, which I found fascinating too. I didn't know that, you let it all out, you're going to the floor, wherever that may be, right? But if you let out a little bit, it only takes you so far. So one of his therapeutic tools is to sit underwater for about 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and nothing is happening. You don't hear anything. There's nothing going on in your brain, and it's a way to meditate. But that pressure, 7 pounds of pressure being underwater, is almost like a hug that you know, it's like the water just consumes you, and it's pretty therapeutic in and of itself. Not to mention all the fishies you see and all the things you hear and the different shipwrecks you can explore. You know, it's pretty amazing. I go through way more air than he does. He looks like he isn't even breathing. It's crazy to me because I have a 3,000 pound tank and I'm like 2,500, 500 left. You know, I've used 2,500 and he's at 500. He only used 500. And I'm like, you swam 5 miles and you didn't use no air. And he's like, honey, I've been doing this for 35 years. I'm like, oh, okay. So I think finding those things that I want to go after whole person wellness at the end of the day. You know, there's a hyperbaric study here in Tampa. My buddy, Dr. Dutori, which I will have on your podcast too. He's called Dr. Deep Sea. He's got a channel. You can look him up. He's a pretty wonderful human being. But what he did is he went underwater for 100 days and he broke the world record. I think somebody's broke it since then, but he definitely did the circuits. He's written several books. He writes about his traumatic brain injury healing. That's coming out soon. I'm in it. This is pretty cool. But I'm just part of his healing journey, you know, and then we became friends and he did a hyperbaric study. They have a 5-year study here in Tampa where every veteran can come be assessed and you get 40 sessions of hyperbaric oxygen under, you know, for free. So that's pretty amazing. So anybody in Florida, right? You just come in, you do it, you know, every day, 5 days a week. It's 8 weeks and you're good to go. And it's,
two sessions a day, right? Or is it one session?
No, one. Just
one session a day.
So one.
So you gotta have a 40-day commitment. But
yes,
Doc, I know you keep talking about so many cool things, and that's what's cool about you is like you're actually able to look at all these different pathways and realize that it's not your pathway that's important. It's the pathway for the veteran that they're going to take. That's going to be a good pathway for them. And that's something that I really take value in because I'm not here to put anything down anybody's throat and say, you need to do it this way. It's my way. Yeah. And that's something that you and I talked about.
Oh, I reject that completely.
Yeah.
I believe every veteran, every individual, whether it's military, police, fire, they're all individuals and they all need individual paths. Not everything's going to work for everybody, but you at least need to try, right? And I believe in the 4-person wellness, whole person wellness, psychological, physical, spiritual, and emotional. You have to heal all 4 facets in order to get where you want to go, to minimize those triggers. I don't necessarily believe that you can alleviate your PTSD entirely, but fuck it, we're going to try.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good because it's important for you as an individual to reach out and grab a hold of something that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone, maybe, but more an adventure.
Oh, all of this is.
But we all need to be willing. We all need to be willing to kind of try something new.
Oh yeah, I'll sit here and watch Jean crochet for the rest of my life, but nobody lets me. Because they know I need to get out. They know I need, you know, and that's where that support group comes into play. And you need your fellow brothers and sisters to be like, no, bitch, you ain't sitting there. Let's go. And you're like, oh, okay. You know, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I want to go. You need to go for me.
Yeah. And you need to go for you. You got to be
selfish.
Yeah.
We tell them that later. Yeah. But at the end of the day, see, the veteran's goal is like, it's not about me, right? I work this way too. You don't have to give me kudos. You don't have to celebrate me in any way, shape, or form. Like, are you doing better? That's all I give a shit about. Really.
Yeah. That's a good agenda, Doc, because remember we talked about agendas and there's a lot of people out there that have weird agendas and, you know, my agenda is just to see your pathway. And that's your agenda is that too. I mean, everybody's got to be, you know, making a living. They got to be doing their thing, but at the same time, why not do it with some passion and the purpose is to keep these vets in some very good motivational pathways. And it's great to see them succeed in life. And it's great that I'm glad because I got a hold of you because one of my veterans that I work with says, hey, you know what? There's a good doctor. She's my doctor now, and you need to talk to her. And he said, hey, let's make it happen. So we made it happen, and this is where you're at, and it's great to meet you. And we spent some time talking over the last couple of weeks, and thank goodness, because this platform allows me to have a way to talk and communicate with other veterans, and allow you to come out and bring this to the forefront of other veterans. And Brian Colburn, way back when, he's like, hey, Chief, you have all these connections. You need to make this podcast. And I'm like, I'm not a podcaster.
Yes, you are.
But he turned me into a podcaster. And
Yeah.
so here we are doing this podcast.
You turned yourself into a podcast.
Yeah. And I got Chef JB as my co-host here. We got to do this cool thing together. We'll be in the studio here pretty soon in the future, but we got to get some things set up there. But Doc, thanks. Keep going. What else you got?
So I think
great.
At the end of the day, the veteran typically goes to the VA initially, and I got a VA story for you. This is pretty funny. So I've already told you this story, Chief, but I haven't told Chef. So I work with the police departments in the area, right? I present, I teach, I do all kinds of things. I do critical incident stress management groups. When they have a serious event, they call me in because they need a licensed professional there. I sit and I listen. Well, the challenge is a couple of years ago, we had an officer who was killed, and it was an ambush, and 2 other officers were injured. And I went, typically I do a SISM. I'm in and out. It's not a big deal, but I did 3 a day for 2.5 weeks. And the stories, and at the end of it, my responsibility as a therapist is to hold up a sign and go, if you are dealing with any of these issues, please give me a call, right? And that part sucks for me because I'm more immersive. I'm very much, a lot of people, some people do talk therapy, and that's fine and dandy, but I consider myself more an interventionist. I'm certified in 53 different therapeutic modalities because I need to know everything so I can find out what suits you best. So that's kind of what I focus on. And what I was finding out is, like, I was having nightmares and flashbacks. I was like, my PTSD symptoms were very heightened, I would say, in those experiences. So I made an appointment with the VA because I do have a pretty amazing facility right down the road from me. And I went in and I said, I need a mental health appointment. And they're like, okay, we'll get you scheduled. Now, keep in mind, this event occurred in August, right? The 2.5 weeks of me going in, hearing everybody's story and feeling everyone's sadness. Because I am sort of, I don't know if you believe in this or not, but I feel people's feelings sometimes. So I was overflowing, if that makes sense. Like, it was just overwhelming to be exposed to all of those emotions simultaneously for that long of a period. And I went in and I met with a combat medic, which you'll appreciate, Navy Chief, right? And he's telling me his war stories. Now, keep in mind, I took an assessment for my burnout scale, was 94 out of 100. The last thing I'm in the mood to do right now is listen to your story. I was just having a hard time. Since then, I have adjusted, but he just volunteered. He didn't know I was Dr. Royster, right? I'm R8213. Like, I don't know, right? So he's sitting there and he's telling me his story. And he said, the first available appointment is in January. And I looked at him and I said, dude, it's August. He goes, yeah. I said, well, what if I was suicidal? He goes, I don't know, call 988. And I'm like, don't you have anybody in the community that could help me? Oh, yeah, we can do that. So he gets on his little computer and he looks up and he says, I got this company. It's called Semper Motis. So I'm dying, right? I'm just like, I said, you should call it. So he calls me. I pick up the phone and I said, this is Dr. Royster. And he looks at his phone. He looks at me. He looks at his phone. He looks at me. He goes, oh, that's not going to work. And I went, you think? So anyway, it was pretty entertaining. So I ended up taking the appointment. He told me to go out to registration or whatever and confirm the appointment. So as I go out there, there's a guy in front of me that just left this guy's office. And he's like, don't you have anything before January? I handed him my card. I'm like, dude, just call me tomorrow. And he's like, cool. And he's doing amazing now, by the way. So luckily that worked out. So that made that fills me up. Helping other people obviously is definitely my coping skill, and it gets me back on the road. And it's not necessarily, a lot of people are like, well, I need the feedback and I need you to tell me I'm great. Like, no, you coming back tells me I'm doing something right. But you telling me where I'm fucking up is more important. Like, you're off the nose. This is not what I want. Okay, what do you want? Tell me what you need so that I can make this work. Aw, that's so nice. Hi.
Yeah, we do have listeners, and they come on and they'll put some comments out there, and that's really cool.
Oh, very cool.
So,
you guys are awesome.
Yeah. Every once in a while I have my 2 listeners that'll pop on here.
I love it. Oh,
But,
stop.
but this,
3 and more
this
than
get-
that.
no, but this gets syndicated across all the all the
Different
podcasts, and I used to have 13. I'm working on 14 listeners, but now I'm at 300 a month.
That's awesome.
Sometimes it's
Or
300
Hey,
2 weeks now.
I subscribed
like
to
that.
you yesterday when you sent me the little
right.
preview. So
See,
and it's
I'll work on it.
195, man. You're getting
All right.
there.
All right.
It's more than I have.
We're looking for 16 next week. Just
That's right. Get it.
Yeah.
You might
No,
have.
I got like 302 weeks now, apparently, or something. 202 weeks. I don't know. It's something like, but it's good because really this platform is there to educate the public and help the veterans out and give them some hope and give them some places to kind of find. I use this as a tool for them to, hey, if you need a resource, go through the list and look. And listen.
And they don't understand. There's 49,000 nonprofit organizations specifically designed to assist veterans. Now, not all of them are in business because they're led by people who need the help themselves. But there are some that are pretty long lasting and have been in service for quite some time. But exactly. I do see that. I see them pop up all the time. In Florida, we have a nonprofit arm of the American Legion called Project Vet Relief. And what they do is they support about 10 or 15 different nonprofit organizations that they've thoroughly vetted to get that assistance right off the bat. And I'm one of their providers. So
speaking of that, Dr. Royster, yes. you are a provider.
Uh-huh.
You are contracted through the VA.
Yes.
And if someone needs your help and services, Semper Motis LLC, you can look that up. It's all over her artwork that I put out, so you can look at that.
Yeah.
And Semper Motis is mobile.
Yes.
Always mobile.
Yes.
And just like Semper Fi, Semper Diem, Semper all these cool things.
Well, Semper Motis means always on the move, because
always on the move,
going doing something.
But you see a lot of your patients via the telephone, via telehealth,
yes.
all this cool stuff through Facebook or some other kind of platform, just like we're doing right here. And give us the scoop on if somebody wants to get to see you, because they're probably listening right now. They're like, dang, how do I see this doctor? She's so cool.
Yeah.
Because out of all the doctors, I've had some really good doctors. But if I had a doctor, it'd be, you're the kind of doctor that I'd want to have too. And I think our veterans are looking for doctors that can really give the breakdown. And again, you're the kind of doctor that needed to chase every modality because you needed to experience that. Not only that, because you have this learning, you want to learn everything and tap into everything because that's your thrill. That's where you get your dopamines or whatever that else that you're getting. Right. So how do they get involved? Not everybody can see, Dr. Royster, but if they wanted to, you got a whole clinic of really cool people.
I do. Okay. So I have an Army National Guard guy who just got back from Djibouti in Italy. He does brain-based intervention. We're called clinical hypnosis. Like he's a diplomat, which basically means he's got 15,000 hours into it. Highly exceptional individual. He's also 6'7". So he loves the adrenaline, the ranch stuff and all that. I went to school with him. And then I have a Navy CB who specializes in children and substance abuse and personality disorders. You'll probably have her on at some point too. With PA, what you do is community care network, and you sign up. Any clinician that wants to can sign up. They get vetted. And then the VA starts referring to you. You just give them my name, Dr. Janelle Royster, and they look up my information and they send a pre-auth. I call you, I schedule the appointment, and then they send me the authorization. Bing, bang, boom. Here's my Zoom, right?
Yeah, and does that work out of state too?
Yes.
Or,
yeah, I have people in
sure.
Taiwan, Australia. Let's see, Taiwan, Australia. I got somebody in Scotland. I almost said Sweden. No, I got a guy in Scotland, Wisconsin. Like it doesn't matter.
And all over the United States. So that's
oh yeah. Yeah, I got some people in Phoenix. I don't have anybody in California because they don't let me, but they got their own rules. No,
they got their own
license.
Yeah, California's got that.
Yeah.
One of the good things, Doc, that I can tell already is somebody that's going and seeking help, you got to be positive with them. You can't be negative. You can't be down. You can't be, whoa, what's your problem today? You know, I mean, I've been in the VA system for 55 years now, a long time. And it's like I've come across some real characters, ones that I don't want to meet ever again.
Or outside the VA, yes. I met them. Which VA do you go to? No, I'm just kidding. Sounds similar.
And we fortunately go to one of the best VAs in the country.
Yeah, VA hospital.
Mine's brand new, so they haven't fucked up too bad yet. I'm waiting.
Well, ours is pretty new too.
Oh, that's good.
So,
but there are some. They have been flow in it. It's all based on leadership. It's all based on who's running it, depending on whether they need it to be about them and their trajectory, as opposed to the individuals that you serve. And I think people get misconstrued about like, what are we doing here? And the last thing I'm ever going to ask you is, how did that make you feel, Chef? Because my response to you, if you asked me that, was I would tell you to fuck off. It just naturally comes out. It's like, fuck off. Like, I can't help it. There's no like pause. There's no, So that is very, you'll have a rage reaction from me if that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if I knew how I fucking felt, I wouldn't be fucking here. Right.
Yeah.
So that is the response that you get as the therapist. So you have to be very mindful of the questions that you ask. Like, what is your purpose? Well, they told me to. Okay, Forrest Gump, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
You know, oh, you told me to, Sergeant, right? So we don't really want that. We want somebody who's actually going to be like, okay, I'm looking for help because I can't get out of it. Great. We got a mission. We got a goal. Let's go. This is what we're going to do. Did you brush your teeth? Did you wipe your ass? Good job. Like, that's awesome. Congratulations. And you kind of need that, especially somebody that's severely depressed, like they cannot function. And there's nothing wrong with not being able to function today. Tomorrow, we'll have a different conversation. Do you see what I'm saying? So you got to kind of shift that mindset and get them to realize, like, any little thing you do is an achieved goal. Well done. Because a lot of people have this output and this expectation. I was 19. I was doing this. I was doing that. I was in the motor pool. I was blah, blah, blah. Okay, but you're 75. Like, you're not going to do those things today. You have to set realistic expectations. Right?
That's it. I gotcha.
So managing your expectation of yourself is definitely something to consider. Where are you today? What can you do? What are you able to do today? Instead of, I'm going to sit. And there's a reason that the rearview mirror is so small. Like, we're not supposed to be watching that road. We got to watch the one in front of us. And the windshield is huge. So what are you going to do with it?
Use all of it.
Yeah, don't forget to clean that thing because you need to be able to use it.
You want to see.
Exactly.
But somebody's staring, and that's what I call anxiety is, you know, the road ahead of you that you're not even there yet. And then depression is the rear view mirror. Like, what are we doing? So sometimes we take our slippers off, we put our feet on the cold floor, and we realize where we are today. Because the other thing about trauma is it doesn't understand time.
No.
It has absolutely no concept of today. You are not getting hit by mortars.
No. It does not. That's a good point, Doc. That's a very good point.
So very much
See,
in the present.
And that's why we need doctors to help us articulate our thoughts, because that's a thought that I had. I love those puzzle pieces, the aha moment. Aha.
Yay.
I've had that thought since I did get blown up with a mortar. But I've never been able to articulate it in that particular kind of way. So thank you, Doc, for that.
Well, and a lot of people, they have social media. I was talking about social media addiction to one of my clients today. Actually, he was talking about it, and I totally, his mindset reverberated with it. I don't think, as a 51-year-old, I'm not 51 yet. I'll be there Friday. Slow down. But my age, like, I didn't have a computer until I was in high school, right? I did stupid word processing and would you like to play a game? If you don't know that movie, you need to go watch it. 1984 War Games. I'm just saying, it's a great movie. And, the green text on the screen as it appears as you write it, and how advanced we've become. But at the end of the day, like, what does that addiction look like to you? When are you disconnecting from everything? I crochet because I don't need power or internet to do it. And it's math skills. Math disconnects emotions. So when you're in those moments, and I'll give you a couple little tidbits, is math disconnects emotions because you're going from the emotional mindset to the rational, logical side of the brain. So if you're really having a hard time, sometimes you can count even odds, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, until you no longer feel that panic. Because numbers disconnect. Sometimes when I have somebody who comes to me and they're overwhelmed, I can go, what's 100 minus 7? They're like, I don't fucking know. Okay, take a second and think about it. It's 93. Okay, what's 93 minus 7? 86? Sure. What's 86 minus 7? 79, 72, and go all the way down to 2. And I'm like, what are you feeling right now? Well, other than frustrated about fucking numbers, nothing. Exactly. You're not scared anymore, are you? Right? So getting them to shift that mind space, and that's probably why chefs like to do what they do, is because what are you doing all day? Counting. You're measuring. You're scooping. Yep. You're doing lots of things with math.
When I have a bad day, I go start ordering, and I got to figure out what everything is,
Out of all the 3-letter agencies, the CIA, the FBI, the DEA, all of them, I've seen all of them. I've had 12,000 clients in my 5th career here, right? I've never seen an architect for counseling.
Never.
I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh or cry.
Both? I never have. You know why? Because they're doing math all the time. It's not that they're not traumatized. It's that they're using that coping skill. I found that fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen Chefs? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Lots of you. I did a lot of my papers on Gordon Ramsay, actually. And I was the only one who caught that the only reason he was angry was not because he was angry. It was because he was frustrated about the lack of perfection of his chefs.
Yeah.
My psychologist thought that was just profound. And I'm like, well, lady, I'm 30. Like, I'm not 12. I've been in the world.
Pretty obvious. Yeah.
To me, it was, but to a lot of other people, they just, see him as a hothead. And it's like, no, demands perfection.
He's a really nice person.
Yeah. I did a lot of papers on him.
But I have my moments in a kitchen. I mean, we all do. That's the only thing that makes us good, is our own drive.
Well, that demand of perfection, but at the end of the day, Gordon's never about Gordon.
No, that's it.
And a lot of people misunderstand his fame and celebrity for arrogance and narcissism. I don't love that word, because I think that there are many people that have narcissistic traits that aren't necessarily narcissists. Like, you have to break that down. I get that a lot. A lot of men who are getting divorced, and it's like, oh, am I a covert narcissist? And I'm like, dude, do you know what you have to do to be one? Let's read off the symptoms. And he's like, I only have 2 of those. And I'm like, yeah. So
Bye.
It's different than, having narcissistic traits obviously is one thing, but having a personality disorder is a whole nother beast. And I have had clients come to counseling who have been diagnosed. I've assessed them because I worked under a psychologist, so I can do a lot of comprehensive evaluations. And I send them this narcissist test and they're like 79 out of 92. And I'm like, okay, you need to go here. And he's like, you can't treat me? I'm like, no, I ain't giving you skills to further manipulate your wife. No. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, because that's not happening. That's what they do. Narcissists, psychopaths. That's what we're talking about here. Whole nother level, whole nother beast. I'll treat a schizophrenic all day, but a narcissistic psychopath is never. All they're going to do is take my tools and manipulate people more. I'm not having it.
Yeah.
Right.
But I worked with a schizophrenic who said the actress on Empire owed him money, and everybody thought he was crazy. And then to come find out, she lived next door, borrowed $2,000 from him for a car, and she said, when I make it big, I'll give you $80,000. He was telling the truth. Isn't that funny?
Wow.
I find that stuff fascinating. But I think we need to slow down the judgment. And we have very much put people in boxes based on their beliefs, but we don't find out why they believe what they believe. Especially in this political realm. This is terrifying. The ideologies and the thought processes and how people align. I want to know why. How did you get here? Is this your parents? Is this what you've read? What do you align with? How do you believe what you believe? Because I think at the end of the day, we are judging people based on a thought that they thought sounded good in the moment, not a core value that they've been born with. You see what I'm saying? So there's big differences in that. And I think we need to take a breath and get to know somebody before we start judging everybody or name calling, right? There's a lot of different names that get spewed out. And it's like, wow, I may not agree with this, but that doesn't make me this, right? So
Right.
I think we need to scale back on that and be kinder to one another. That would be my end message, right? Just touch grass, be kind to one another.
Definitely.
If you're, one road up and you're fully anxious about what's going to happen, remember where you are right now. Present moment matters more than anything else. Look around. Tell me 5 things you see, a couple things you hear. What do you taste? What do you feel between your hands, right? And here comes my kitty. See? He's showing up right at the end. So those things matter. What's on the screen? Nah, not necessarily.
Okay.
Because think about it. The screen fades. You have to be with yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hey, Doc, I definitely look forward to getting you back on here, and all the guests that I know you have lined up for me. We've talked to about them. I know I got to make some calls and some more touches with some of these guys. I got to reach out to them and gals.
Well, I think you guys are awesome, and I'm so honored to be here.
Any final words? And if they want to get a hold of you again, feel free to put that information out there. Again, Semper Motis LLC. Look that up. It's real easy to look up online and get right to it. It's really great
Send
website.
Me an email. I welcome
Go ahead,
So
Doc. Any last words?
Numbers disconnect emotions. Hold your breath. Count to 10 before you punch somebody in the face.
That is amazing.
There you go.
That is amazing.
Don't punch people.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for being on here and bringing your cat too. And you are
it's dinner time. He knows.
You are in Florida, so it looks great out there in Florida.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah. Hollywood.
Thanks, Doc.
I was at Hollywood. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Honored
You know
to serve
who one of
you.
my great clients was Shelby Cobra.
Wow.
Shelby. Yeah, he moved here and brought all his operations here to Las Vegas, and I used to do some catering. I used to have a catering
He's a
company
good
for a
dude.
long
He
year.
was a good dude.
Oh, really great guy. I mean,
enjoyed
really
that.
down to earth. I got to spend some time with him a few times. So it's
I love
he's one of the better people I know in life.
That's so cool.
So-
Thank you guys so much. It's dinner time for him. He knows it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. J.
he takes
Thank
that from my heart.
Chef, what you got, brother? What you got?
You know what? This Saturday, we're doing pancakes for patriots for the honor flight. And
Yep.
since St. Patty's Day, the next day, we're going to have green pancakes, and we're going to have a pancake eating contest.
Hey,
with
that's at
green
that's at the Eagles Club, right?
Right. Eagles 310 Pacific Avenue.
In Henderson, Nevada.
Yeah, and it's Henderson, Nevada. And great place to have a breakfast or an event. You know, there's parking and, you know, we have lots of food. Everybody gets their fill. You know, it's a buffet. I always put out a lot of food and, you know, scrambled eggs, sausage, French toast. We have blueberry topping, strawberry topping, you know, syrup, butter. I mean, we just really go to town. You know, it's a good time. And I love working with the girls from the Honor Flight. They're one of the great 501c3s here, taking senior veterans to Washington, D.C. to see all the memorials. And they pay for everything. They pay for airfare, hotels, all the food, get people to help them push, because a lot of them are really old and they see a lot of war memorials. So they take a wheelchair for each one of them and push them along so they don't get too tired and can enjoy. And the war stories are great. It's just a really great time. And at this breakfast, we'll have probably at least 5 or 6 or maybe more that have taken that trip that can talk to some of the senior veterans about taking it. So it's a good deal. I feel proud to do it.
Outstanding.
And honored to do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it's great.
So,
it's great.
That's
else?
about it.
That's about it.
No, that's about it.
All right. Well, you know, just a quick little synopsis of everything that I got going on. You know, I was at a funeral yesterday for a 57-year-old veteran that only had 2 years of retirement. You know, and just didn't really get to enjoy his life after retirement. And my heart goes out to the family and to anybody who's on the verge of losing their life and has you know, issues. And if you need to get yourself to Camp Hope or need some help and support in that avenue of PTSD, please take a look at Camp Hope, that 6 to 9 month treatment facility in Houston, Texas. You know, let's take a look at getting you there. The other thing is you got warrior groups Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, my personal warrior groups. And I work with Eric Pettifer, another great guy from Camp Hope. And he helps me navigate these warrior groups. So he's available for that. And then on top of that, hey, I was out with Warrior Built this weekend. I also got to spend some time with those guys as they came up for the Mint 400. The Mint 400 was a great adventure up here in the Las Vegas area. It's once a year. They kick that thing off, a great race. They finished the mission. You know, they got the finished the mission medallion that they took back to the shop in Lake Elsinore, California. But I hang out with those guys, get down to California every once in a while, and I'll do the show from there too. And you know, I get to spend some time with Brian Colburn every once in a while. You know, when he's around, I think he's coming up here. We're going to spend some time with him around the 17th, 18th time frame. You know, I got to see. Speaking of Chef JB, I got to actually eat some food from the Bloomin' Bistro. That was an awesome thing. The sandwiches were there. My wife said the potatoes were the best she's had in the United States so far. So, hey, some really great kudos to that. And so, Chef, you're getting these guys, these young adults that are just leaving St. Jude's and they have to go into the world for themselves, and they're going to learn how to navigate that system, and they're learning how to be chefs themselves, or you know, food navigators.
Workforce development, yes, we call it workforce development. How to suit up, show up, and at least be hireable, you know, or, you know, being at least knowing what they have to do to go to a job and really work a job, and don't play on the phone at the job. The worst thing I got is trying to get them away from the phones.
Definitely. Hey, and I had a lot of support this week from the VTRC reaching out to me to reach out to some other veterans that needed some help up in Washington, to other organizations reaching out to me to reach out to some veterans that needed some support, navigating different elements to get those guys to where they need to be, to just let them know that these organizations that exist, and as the VTRC is a central hub for trying to get that information out to veterans. This is an important part, whether it's here in Las Vegas or up in Reno's area too has one as well. So, hey, reach out, find out where you can get your help. And just like Dr. Royster said, it's not up to us. It's where you're going with your pathway, and let's help navigate that pathway to the best of its ability. Until next time, hey, this is Aaron Seibert and Chef JB signing off. Strength and honor out.
Yep. Bon appetit.
The only way, and we need nothing more. The only way, together forever, that's for sure.